in the study session, since we're now voting on these items, and I will only do this once, so you don't have to hear me say this multiple times. I know I have more of a contrarian viewpoint on this particular package of items in front of us, and I respect that my colleagues may see things differently. I feel strongly, however, that this is a sequence issue in front of us today. We've made difficult budget cuts, and we've heard about those today, and we've taken a lot of hard steps already, but there is a significant revenue lever we're choosing not to use. Until we address that first, I cannot personally support raising taxes and fees that impact every resident and business who pays utility bills. I want to start by acknowledging the reality we're facing. We have a very real budget deficit, and there are no easy choices in front of us. I'm not afraid to do hard things. I've been doing hard things as a leader my entire adult life. I've supported many difficult decisions before, and I understand that balancing the city's budget requires trade-offs. For me, this is not about whether we need to make tough choices. It's about sequence. Before we raise taxes and fees that will knowingly increase costs for every Tucson resident and every business, especially through higher utility bills, or as we've heard today, people trying to make ends meet and using pawn services to get through the month, I believe we need to first use the revenue tools that we already have sitting in front of us. Reinstating bus fares under the city manager's prior recommendation with free and low income programs built in could generate more than $8 million per year, which is more than the total revenue that this entire package is projected to raise. I'm not trying to start a debate about bus fares tonight. I'm just providing my logic about why I'm personally not voting for the proposals in front of us today. So until we choose to capture that revenue, I personally can't support proposals that will raise utility bills for people who cannot opt out of electricity, water, or heat, increase the cost of doing business for local employers, and ultimately pass those costs back onto residents through higher prices. I believe reinstating fares with protections for those who need them is the more responsible first step toward rebalancing our budget and reducing pressure on the general fund. So until we take that step, I'll not be supporting these items, and I'll be voting no on the items B through G tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any others? Councilmember Cunningham.
Mine is somewhat the same logic, but I have a few other things. I think there are pieces where we could compromise. We might be able to do a lower tax on the secondhand, where we take it down to maybe 50 cents, but tripling it all at once, I think, is a little excessive. So I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to do all these at once so we don't have to do this 4 times. The second one is the hotel tax. The hotel tax, when groups block off 100 rooms at $200 a night, that's a $1,200 disadvantage to hotels that are inside the city. And that I can't allow us to have that kind of disadvantage for our hotels. I just won't do it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Moreover, we also are voting on the we were going to vote on the advertising tax. I'm under the impression that that's been delayed. I don't know if it will come back. And then that brings us
that item will be continued, Councilmember.
Yeah. And then that brings me to the utility tax, which is, I think right now, what I really want to know is how it affects the solar piece on whether or not you're charged for those kilowatt hours. Also, I've got some questions about how we're raising water rates at 3.5% and we're putting the 0.5% utility tax on top of it. So I want to know why had that been factored in. Maybe we'd have a different outcome with that one. The one that I will be supporting, or I would be supporting, I won't do it for the sake of brevity, is I'll support the Airbnb tax. I think that's prudent and I think that's good for housing.
All right, any other of my colleagues want to add? Councilmember Shubert.
I am grateful for our discussion today and the room that we have for disagreements about how best to approach our budget shortfall. And I hear all of the concerns over the impact on our local residents and our economy. I just want to point out that we don't have a clear idea of what the cost of reinstating fares would be, nor do we know the fiscal impact of reinstating fares. We do know that research consistently shows that every dollar of investment in public transit generates $4 to $5 in local economic benefit. And that doesn't take into account all the other priceless impacts like improved air quality, improved equity. I think about all the missed doctor's appointments, people not being able to get to work, the accessibility issue of folks who cannot drive or cannot afford a car. The 8 million that we would possibly regain by reinstating fares is not an accurate number, given that we don't know the cost of reinstating. And also there would be a huge decline in ridership. So I understand that one potential solution that has been raised has been a free permit program, but I haven't heard any solutions that sound actually tenable for our low-income residents. When we had free passes before, people were required to go in person. The validation process was cumbersome. It's hard for people who don't have transportation to go in person, and they only issued them for 28 days at a time. This is really not the time to be targeting our most vulnerable residents. Something that is assessed to everybody in the city is more equitable than targeting people who can't drive.
Any others? Any others? All right, I do want to add, we had a very